We come here every year because he was our very first chief minister. He did so much to develop the country. He had the first comprehensive school. He started the Lavity Stoutt Community College. He started Social Security. He laid such a strong foundation for our tourism and for our financial services, the pillars on which we stand today. It would be remiss of us to not honor this great man. I am the secretary for the Lavity Stoutt Commemorative Committee, and we are here today to celebrate his birthday, the holiday, under the theme, what would Lavity Stoutt do? Right here, right now. And we just listened to an awesome speech, remarks by our former Deputy Governor, Mrs. Inez Archibald CBE, where she reminded us of our spiritual groundedness that she learned from H.L. Stoutt when she was a child.
I knew Mr. Stoutt as my Sunday school teacher. That was the man who taught me to sing. You have the music? Hear the pennies dropping, listen while they fall. Everyone for Jesus, he shall have them all. Dropping, 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 hear the pennies fall. Everyone for Jesus, he shall have them all. Those were the days when your parents could only afford to give you 7 cents to go to church. They tied up the nickel at one corner of your handkerchief, and they tied up the 2 pennies in the other corner of the handkerchief, and you knew that the nickel was for church. But when you put in your 2 pennies in Sunday school, Mr. Stoutt taught us how to sing dropping, dropping. It was what he was teaching us then. We had no idea. And a lot of things you learn in Sunday school, it doesn't hit you until you're an adult. But what that says to me now is that everything belongs to God.
Today we commemorate the 23rd year of the late H.L. Stout's passing and his birthday. This year we do so with a difference. We do so after many of his projects, including our schools, our central administration complex, our electricity, our roads and infrastructure, are ripped out or severely damaged by the devastating winds of Hurricanes Irma and Maria. And so it's appropriate to ask, what would his father with the BVI, this brilliant, courageous man, have done were he here today? I know our keynote speaker will give you her own thoughts, but I too want to reflect on today's theme. There are just 3 points I'd like to make in my short remarks. Firstly, H.L. Stoutt was a man of action. Secondly, H.L. Stoutt was a man of inclusiveness. And thirdly, H.L. Stoutt was a man who never forgot to say thank you.
Today, because of what H.L. Stoutt did back then, we can enjoy the fruits of his labor. He planted seeds of success everywhere in this territory. H.L. Stoutt understood back then the greatest achievement are those that benefited others. He was not perfect, but he strived towards perfection. Some people succeed because they're destined to, but most people like Honorable H.L. Stoutt succeed because they are determined to. Because diligence is the mother of good fortune. He was a man that came from humble beginnings. He was born in Match, but he never stopped matching until he reached great things for the people of the Virgin Islands.
He had, as Kenneth Williams put it in his book, he had a sweet mouth. Any of us who knew H.L. knew that that was so. He could get you to do whatever he wanted you to do in the interest of the country. I recall being told a story by my good friend, Honorable Oliver Sills. He said to me, Walwyn, HL used to kill me with kindness and love. He said, what love? What a man. He said, you could imagine that I was the leader of the opposition. And after HL treated me so good, I couldn't find it in my heart to run against him. I had to cross the floor and join HL. Now, I am in no way advocating that any member of the House of Assembly should cross the floor.
The Mr. Stoutt I knew preached in my middle adulthood from the Rotown Methodist pulpit on a passage from the Gospel of John chapter 15. I am the vine, and if you knew Mr. Stoutt, he said, I am the wine. I am the vine and you are the branches. Unless you abide in me, you can do nothing. And I remember him elaborating and talking about the lights in the ceiling. He said you can have your lights, you can have your lamps, you can have your lampshades, you can have your bulbs, but if you're not connected, you don't have any light. I remember that. We remember that especially during this hurricane season. So, Mr. Stoutt for me was sort of a spiritual guide along the way. I don't think he knew it. And then too, the Mr. Stoutt I knew was the person I saw shortly before he died. I had gone to his office by appointment to discuss a matter that troubled me. And I got in the door, he was sitting at his desk, he was wearing a gray suit, pink shirt, burgundy tie, and he looked at me and said, Highness, what can I do for you, old girl? And I said to myself, this man has a way of disarming you. So he said, sit down, and I sat down. And he came around and began to chat with me. I never get to discuss the problem that I went through. And when I was leaving, I got up to go, and he came, he says, I need to hug you. And as he was hugging me, he said to me, Highness, I always knew that you were going places from the time you were a little girl in West End. Now, that was before I had told him that I was going to Singapore the next day to market J.S. Archibald Trust Services. But I had the feeling even then that that is not what Mr. Stoutt was talking about. I had the feeling that he was using a figure of speech to say to me, I expect that you will be a contributing, responsible citizen of these Virgin Islands.
An integral part of the Lavity Stoutt celebrations is the annual Wreath laying ceremony, where a wreath is laid on behalf of the Premier. A wreath is laid on behalf of the 1st District representative because Mr. Stoutt represented the 1st District throughout his entire political career. And a member of the family also lays a wreath. So every year, the wreath laying ceremony is an integral part of the celebrations. I'd like to thank all the persons who've come and joined us as we celebrate, and we will continue to celebrate our awesome leader, H.L. Stoutt.